Good evening, everyone. This is Lei from China Daily, live from Beijing. This is our special program to celebrate the 25th anniversary of Hong Kong's return to the motherland. We're live on China Daily's website, China Daily app, Tencent News, Facebook, Twitter, Weibo, Douyin, Kuai, and other social media platforms. Since its return in 1997, Hong Kong, known as the Pearl of the East, not only has had an epic 25 years, but also is working towards establishing a bright future in terms of its city governance, economic development, talent policy, integration with the Greater Bay Area, and more. Tonight, we've invited guest speakers from different areas and backgrounds as we commemorate the past and look to the future. Now let's begin with our first guest speaker, Kenneth Foh Kong. Mr. Foh is a member of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference's National Committee, representing Hong Kong. He's also a member of Hong Kong's Legislative Council. As a Hong Kong resident, he's got his own special memories about the city's past. As a member of the Legislative Council, he will share his views on the city's governance. And as a national political advisor, he's also been working on promoting exchanges and understanding between Hong Kong and the mainland. Mr. Foh has interviewed with China Daily before. Let's see what he's going to say.
First of all, I would like to extend my greetings to all China Daily readers. It's very nice to meet you here in this way. You know, I was 18 when Hong Kong returned to the motherland back in 1997. Now, as a member of the 13th National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, and also a member of Hong Kong's Legislative Council, I'm very lucky to have the chance to serve my city and, of course, my country. This job has really allowed me to listen to voices both from Hong Kong and the Chinese mainland, and then to facilitate understanding and exchanges between two places. I've seen how Hong Kong has integrated with the Chinese mainland economically and culturally. And then, of course, through sports, people's exchange, and many other areas. These kind of exchanges and cooperations have brought people together. You know, let's take sports for example. The visit by Olympic athletes from the mainland to Hong Kong has now become really a treasured sports tradition. Their stories have inspired generations of Hong Kong youngsters, athletes, and sports fans alike. You know, Hong Kong will co-host the 15th National Games in 2025 with neighboring Guangdong province and the Macau Special Administrative Region. I think it will be a great opportunity for Hong Kong to showcase our sports culture. The event, I believe, will be a success and evidence that we can do something extraordinary together for the Greater Bay Area. Looking back at the past 25 years, Hong Kong and its people have been through a lot. You know, but we never walk alone. The recent example is that during the COVID-19 pandemic, Chinese mainland has sent medics to help Hong Kong. There are many moments like that and like this to prove that we are family. We've been on the same boat in the past and will always be in the future. You know, I still remember clearly the Occupy Central movement back in 2014 and the events which unfolded, of course, in 2019. Hong Kong really became a place that was unfamiliar to me. I saw protests, I saw violence, I saw people setting each other on fire. I saw police cars, civilian cars being destroyed. It really made us citizens feel very unsafe. So since the central government decided to step in and enact the NSL and the subsequent mandate that only patriots should govern Hong Kong, we've really seen a dramatic mood swing, and also, frankly, society in Hong Kong has become more stable. In terms of turmoil, I think we have to stay determined. The worst thing that we can do is to doubt ourselves. So what I mean by this is, even in times of turmoil or disturbance, we have to have courage, we have to have faith, and we believe in our own system, in our central government, and also, more importantly, in the decisions that the central government make for Hong Kong. With the implementation of the National Security Law and the Patriots Governing Hong Kong legislation, I think it was like a runaway train that's been put back on the correct path. This happens in the United States as well. It happens in Europe. It happens in any other country. It's only because they love their country and they step in to try to make them better. I think in order for the one country, two system principle to succeed, we have to have the Patriots governing Hong Kong mandate. And so far we can see that it's been going very well. And it's really given us a bright future in the years to come. I firmly believe in my city and my country. Hong Kong will still live up to its fame as the pearl of the East and will continue to attract tourists, talents, and of course companies. This can only happen if we look further. So happy anniversary to Hong Kong, and let's hope for a better future together.
That's all from Mr. Foh. As China Daily has never missed out any big Hong Kong story, next we will have a special guest speaker who will tell the best Hong Kong stories published by China Daily. Before that, please watch a video and we will be back soon. Welcome back. If you just tuned in, this is China Daily's special program celebrating the 25th anniversary of Hong Kong's return to the motherland. Speaking of news coverage on Hong Kong, China Daily has always been at the forefront. Over the past 25 years, China Daily has told a lot of Hong Kong stories, showing the city's truth to the whole world through its newspaper, website, mobile apps, and social media. Journalists here have captured Hong Kong's historic moments through their pens, cameras, and videos. Now we're honored to have one of them with us. He's a veteran journalist who's got first-hand experience on the news desk. As a member of China Daily's senior management, he's also spearheaded the transition from newspaper to multimedia. He will share untold stories behind some of China Daily's most classic pages as well. Let's welcome Deputy Editor-in-Chief of China Daily, Mr. Wang Hao, to whom I actually have to report my daily work. Welcome to our program, Mr. Wang Hao, and thank you for joining us very much. Let's start with the date of Hong Kong's return on July 1st, 1997. I noticed that you've got a copy of the front page on that issue. And what were you doing on that day?
Well, thank you for having me here. It is a good idea for us to start something relic to recall the July the 1st, 1997 by reading the front page again. 25 years ago, I was working on the night shift, witnessing the historic moment from Beijing, from the backstage. The front stage, of course, was in Hong Kong. We had two groups of China Daily colleagues sent to Hong Kong. One group was there to prepare for the launch of China Daily Hong Kong edition. It was the first newspaper set up by a Chinese media group after 1997. The other group was an 8-member reporting team to cover the process of handover ceremonies.
I noticed that the byline on the front page is 报道组, which actually means a reporting group. So what was the group behind the front page story like? And is there any special memory on that issue on that day?
Yes, 报道组 means reporting group in Chinese. This is a pen name we designed for big roundup stories contributed by more than 2 reporters. Actually, they were posted in various sites significant to the handover, such as Conference Hall, where the Chinese national flag was raised right after the UK's flag was lowered, and in Shenzhen, when POA troops entered into Hong Kong at midnight.
July 1st, 1997 is really a big day for Hong Kong, for our motherland, and also for all the Chinese people. Watching the handover ceremony at that time, how did you feel about it? And what was everything like back at the newsroom?
July the 1st, 1997 was indeed a great day for China. Everyone was excited to wait for the raising of China's national flag in Hong Kong. In Beijing, tens of thousands of people gathered in Tiananmen Square late in the afternoon. In front of a countdown board, they were singing and dancing to wait for the historic moment of handover. On the front page, we had a picture showing the joyous moment of the square, on the square. It was shot by China's leading news photographer, Wang Wenlan. Back in the newsroom, we appeared relatively calm and collected. We have a big job to do, to put out a great front page to match the historic day. As we waited for the stories pouring in from Hong Kong after 12 o'clock, we were busy planning for the special edition of the handover, and I was the copy editor of front page at that time. I remember I used a pencil and a ruler to design the page on a small dummy paper. Back in late 1990s, last century, we had not had the luxury of having a specialized design and graphic teams like today. Late in the evening, we also had a hot discussion about the main headline. We know headlines and photos are the eyes of a page. They should be special, eye-catching, showing the gist of the stories and, of course, the feeling of the general public. For an unusually large point size for the front page main headline, we had very limited space, but lots of ideas and emotions to express. We tried many versions. Eventually, the choice we made was Home at Last. Home at Last. After almost 100 years of separation from the motherland, Hong Kong returned home. There is no place like home. I must say this is one of the top 3 headlines throughout my 30-year career in China Daily. I got some of the favorite headlines here. I think one of the top 3, my favorite headline I wrote, it's Beijing. This is for Beijing's successful bid of Olympic Games. And this one is about 9/11 terror attack in New York. Both events happened in 2001 when I was also copy editing that night. Recalling my career in the newsroom, I would say the beauty of being a journalist is to be able to catching up with what is happening in the world. Our stories and pages today would eventually settle down as history. But in the case of the covering of Hong Kong's return 25 years ago, it was a double happiness for us. We were both part of the story and the story writers.
Well, they are all very good memories. Our China Daily is an English language newspaper with a global readership. Since our founding in 1981, we have been a go-to source for the international readers to learn about China. Why do you think Hong Kong stories matters much to China Daily?
After 1997, Hong Kong turned over a new page. Hong Kong story has been part of the China story. It has always taken up an important space in China Daily's coverage. In spite of the ups and downs in the past 25 years, Hong Kong has been developing in the right direction under the principle of one country, two systems. If we look at the past 25 years economically, we saw things changed and unchanged to Hong Kong. Of course, the city is now caught up with by a number of cities in terms of GDP, but in terms of per capita GDP, it still remains number 1, leading way above the other Chinese cities. And one thing that has not changed forever and made it stand above all other cities is that Hong Kong is still one of the world's top 3 financial centers. And for 26 years in a row, Hong Kong has been ranked as number 1 freest economy in the world. And now Hong Kong has integrated into the development strategy of Greater Bay Area, which is regarded by many as the most promising metropolis clusters in the world. With a stronger hinterland backup from the mainland, we have every good reason to look forward to an even brighter prospect for the Oriental Pearl in the next 25 years. Here I would like to recommend a video made by my colleagues which collect the stories of Hong Kong youth finding their study and business opportunities, as well as romance and set up their families on the mainland. Let's see the stories.
天文圖則嘅氣温介乎喺25.3度至58.1度。又來到明天全國10天雷雨。
他其實很包容，除了學普通話比較費勁以外。
老板娘也會記得我們啊，又來了。其實最想念家鄉也是我們的胃吧。 次来内地是2015年，内地有一个交流团叫做漫游长江探索三峡，然后当时我们就去了武汉、宜昌，然后去探访的那个王鹤楼，也有辛亥革命的博物馆，可以说是第一次这么直观的去了解一个城市。也是面对面的跟当地的青年有交流。
我有认知的时候呢，大约是上海世博会的时候，那时候我是震惊的，我又没想到内地是那么发达的，那么的好，啊，那时候呢，给我心里面埋下了一个种子。
因为当时我想出去看一看这个世界，因为我就不太想留在澳门那边，就不是很喜欢在我父母的一个照顾下面去成长，所以呢，当时我就是有机会能够去保送到北京的对外经济贸易大学，然后去读这个金融学。
当时我在香港的新闻上看见，香港一家最大的本土银行要在辽宁沈阳成立筹备组，要正式设立一家分行。虽然我当时从未特踏足过内地东三省，也不知道辽宁沈阳在哪里，但那一刻我知道我的机会来了。因为在这里我没有家里人，也没有朋友，我有害怕会孤单，
语言不同啊，这文化是不是不适应啊？
但我来了这里之后发现，其实内地的人们都很热情，我有了新的朋友，有了新的生活圈，很快也就适应了。
大家是很包容，除了学普通话比较费劲以外，就大家都比较愿意纠正我的发音啊，然后我喜欢看新闻联播啊 ，CCTV。
最大的不同可能是生活节奏上面吧。就在香港的话，大家都很快、很急速。就以我在济南这个城市为例的话，比如我去一个水果店，就老板娘也会记得我说又来了什么什么的，就感觉人与人的交谈是很密切的。
可能是这个电子支付的普及程度的这个区别吧。我回香港会忘记带钱包出门，可能平常习惯了在内地拿着手机就可以出门了。
我觉得还是属于一知半解的阶段吧。过来旅个游，可能买个东西，去个地方应该交上朋友，那吃上一段时间，喝上一段时间，可能才对风土人情呢最为了解。不要当井底之蛙，不要就道听途说，要自己亲眼去见证。
我觉得对内地的了解，可能离他们比较近的内地，就是大湾区那一块，了解的会比较多一些。合肥或者其他地方，他们可能相对来说就没那么了解。
可以不单只到城市里面去看看，也可以到农村看看，从不同角度去多看看。
看一下当时的这些农户他们的居住环境，包括来看一下国家现在要帮他们去做的一些工作到底是什么。我们就有这个初心，说想要作为桥梁，引导更多的港澳青年、粤港澳青年来这边看，然后他们只要来看了，他们可能就会有一些想法可以帮助到的。
有情有义有担当，
舒适现代成长。
湖、荷花跟杨柳，
一个是大武汉，第二个词语的话，我想到的是热情，就从之城。
创新、科技发展、
休闲、美食、包容吧。
亲和、便利、科技。
首先，我觉得你肯定得有一颗爱国之心，而且你得要坚定拥护一国两制的方针。
我们祖国走向繁华富强，在这个过程中，会给我们带来很多发展的机会。如果我们能抓住这个机会，来展现我们的才华和能力，这既实现了我们的自我价值，也为祖国的发展贡献了力量。
就我投身向上践行，投身运动中自信。虽然我觉得这个事情是很难，但同时我是找到了我这个事业的价值在。
我也鼓励大家能一起来到祖国的怀抱里面，去发挥或创造人生自己的价值，并自己成就自己。我相信祖国是越来越强大的，我希望香港呢能往前越走越远。
也希望广大的内地青年也好，香港青年也好，都能 跟我一样一起参与到这种共同富裕还有推进祖国发展的进程之中。
随着这个基础设施的互联互通越来越便利，那么时间距离越来越短，那么这个时候就取决于他所从事的领域，它的产业的联系在哪个区域。那么内地的无论是资源环境，还是在各种的自然禀赋以及产业条件，那么也都跟香港的专业服务在不同的领域上可以找到一个契合点。
在我们这个年代，很多的青年呢，他们有很多的共性，以文化为引领，打造一个命运的共同体。文化的同心圆呢，可以以价值观为基础，然后以文化的认同感、身份的认同感、民族的认同感为核心，在充分的融入过程当中呢，我们来发展。
Over the past 25 years, not only Hong Kong but also the media industry has changed a lot to keep up with the digital age. So how did China Daily adapt to such a kind of transition?
Since 1997, the news coverage of Hong Kong and the Chinese mainland has been substantially upgraded by internet-based new media development. China Daily was the first media in China to go online and launch its application in Apple Store. It has been developed into a multimedia group involving print and digital versions and all the major social media platforms. Its readership and audience have exceeded 350 million. Back in 1997, China Daily was an all black and white 12-page newspaper. The only thing we could do was to make the headline red to highlight the mood of celebration. Let's check the relic again. Home at last. This is something only thing we can do to make it colorful. In just about 2 years, China Daily went full color, and now it has 20 pages. Of course, we are now focusing our expansion more on the online development. And China Daily is more visually appealing and friendly to readers thanks to our very talented design and art teams. Let me show you some of my favorite pages. First, we got this award-winning front page, using all kinds of grains to show the importance of food security. Then this is a page, I think this is a global edition at early time. And I think, let's see what's next. This is the latest front page we put out for the Winter Olympics. That's Pan Pan. And that's it. Okay, finally, I think we have a spread page about the Tianwen project landing at Mars. And in terms of Hong Kong coverage, I would suggest we speak to a much more proper person, Mr. Zhou Hanru, my night shift fellow in early 1990s. He was sent to launch China Daily Hong Kong edition and has since stayed there. He knows everything about Hong Kong after 1997.
Well, thank you, Mr. Wang Hao, for such kind of informative session. Thank you very much for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
As Mr. Wang Hao just mentioned, there is a lot to anticipate from China Daily's Hong Kong edition. Along with the Beijing newsroom, we've got a Hong Kong edition that publishes fast and high-quality news. To know what's going on at the center of the celebration in that city, we will connect with our Hong Kong colleagues and gain some local knowledge from the staff there. We will be back soon. Welcome back. If you've just tuned in, this is China Daily's special program celebrating the 25th anniversary of Hong Kong's return to the motherland. We're live on China Daily's website, China Daily app, Facebook, Twitter, Weibo, Douyin, Kuai, and other social media platforms. In this segment, we will turn emphasis to Hong Kong. First, we will talk to Mr. Zhou Hanru, Deputy Editor-in-Chief of China Daily's Hong Kong edition. Mr. Zhou started working in Hong Kong in June 1997, right before the handover ceremony. As a veteran reporter, he must have many behind-the-scenes stories over the past 25 years to share. Now he's standing by in China Daily's studio in Hong Kong. Hello, Ms. Zhou. It's very great to talk to you.
Hi.
Hi. We know you are one of the founders of China Daily's Hong Kong edition. Recalling your early days working there, do you have any unforgettable stories to share with us?
Thank you for having me, Lele. 1997 is a watershed year both for me and for Hong Kong. That year, I left Beijing for Hong Kong, being part of a task force on a mission to prepare for the launch of China Daily's Hong Kong operation. The same year, Hong Kong returned to China after more than 150 years under British rule. The most unforgettable moment for me was when I watched the lowering of the Union Jack and the hoisting of the Chinese flag at the July 1st handover ceremony. It's hard for anyone to forget such a historic moment. So I arrived in Hong Kong in 1997 and have since never left. My first impression of the city was that Hong Kong was more prosperous, more expensive, and more crowded than any other Chinese cities.
As you mentioned, China Daily's Hong Kong edition was founded in 1997, coinciding with Hong Kong's return. Could you please share with us some memorable moments from when you participated in the founding of the Hong Kong edition?
You're right, Lele. The launch of China Daily's Hong Kong Bureau was timed to coincide with the city's handover. We started off with a staff of about 20 people. Most of us barely spoke a word of Cantonese. Few local residents were confident speaking Mandarin, and TV programs were mostly Cantonese. So the first barrier we have to overcome was language. Back then, internet was still in its early stage, and we still used typewriters. And we had a small library where people did newspaper clippings to make things easier for the editorial staff. These were some of the challenges we had to cope with at that time, but we did get the Bureau up and running in time to cover the handover ceremony. I was the chief sub at the time, and my job was to make sure the quality of stories was good enough for print.
Then, do you have any special memory about July 1st, 1997, which is the big day for the handover ceremony?
The handover ceremony took place at the midnight of June 30th and in the early hours of July 1st. In the hours running up to the ceremony, our newsroom was buzzing with activity and excitement. Although everyone is fired up for the big day, it's strangely quiet in the newsroom when the ceremony actually started. All of us were glued to the TV screen. I had no idea what other people in the room were thinking, but I remember telling myself, here is the big day, the day for which Chinese people have been waiting for more than a century.
Then what were you feeling as a witness and participant in that historic occasion?
On the day of handover, it was actually raining, but didn't put a damper at all on the atmosphere of festivity on the streets. And the ceremony went peacefully. Right after the Chinese flag was raised at handover ceremony, all British flags and royal emblems were removed throughout the city and replaced by the national and regional flags and emblems of China and Hong Kong SAR. And I made a point of staying up late and didn't go to bed until after I watched truckloads of PLA troops crossing into Hong Kong from the neighboring city of Shenzhen. The arrival of the PLA Hong Kong garrison was one of the highlights of the handover ceremony.
As you said, since then you've never left the city, so you have witnessed the changes there over the past 25 years. What do you think has been the biggest change then?
Hong Kong was first and foremost a business city. Some of the biggest changes, naturally, came in the business world. Since the handover, the city's economy, for instance, has more than doubled in size. The stock market has increased 8-fold. The city has grown into one of the world's leading trade, financial, aviation hubs. The other notable change is the size of Hong Kong's economy in proportion to that of countries. When I first arrived in Hong Kong, the city accounted for over 20% of the country's gross domestic product. Now, it's less than 3%. It's not that Hong Kong has stopped growing. It's still growing. It's just that the mainland economy has been growing too fast over the past 25 years.
You and your team have covered many stories over the past 25 years. You must have met lots of people and had some memorable moments. Could you share with us some of your favorable experiences? And who was your most impressive interviewee?
I started off as a chief sub at Hong Kong Bureau, and soon after was made the deputy editor-in-chief. So I don't normally go cover stories. I give assignments, rewrite stories, sign off pages, write columns, and occasionally lead teams of reporters to interview people in high offices. Of the people I've interviewed, one of the most impressive has to be outgoing Chief Executive Carrie Lam. She speaks perfect English, is most articulate, and never needs a script to get her message across.
Then to celebrate the 25th anniversary, we know there are a series of events. Could you talk about the plans for this year's anniversary's coverage? And what are those highlights?
It's a customary practice for Hong Kong to stage celebrations every year to mark the city's handover. Those of us here at CDHK conduct an annual operation to cover those events. But this year's operation is by far the largest and comes at a time when Hong Kong is at halfway point of the 50 years no change setup as promised by the Basic Law for the practice of one country, two systems. So we'll be producing a 28-page anniversary supplement and lots of videos to tell the successful stories of post-handover Hong Kong. But unlike previous anniversary operations, this time we are joined by our Beijing colleagues. Those of us here in Hong Kong are working in harness with our Beijing head office to make this anniversary coverage a success.
Wow, that's really impressive. We are very much looking forward to all the products we have. As the anniversary ceremony is just around the corner, could you highlight for us the upcoming celebrations worth watching this year? And what's the atmosphere like now in Hong Kong?
In the weeks leading up to the big show, the day after tomorrow, the city has rolled out a host of celebration events, including arts and culture, leisure and recreation, as well as various thematic seminars. The much anticipated Hong Kong Palace Museum, for instance, will open to the public soon, showcasing national treasures on loan from the Palace Museum in Beijing and artifacts from around the world. The city's main streets are now festooned with national and regional flags. Floral installations have been erected all over the city and along the Victoria Harbour promenades. Although there will be no large-scale public gatherings this year as a result of the COVID situation, the festive atmosphere is hard to miss on the eve of the 25th anniversary celebrations.
Well, we can almost feel the festive atmosphere here. And then what can you tell us about the China Daily's Hong Kong edition team? And what are your expectations for Hong Kong's future?
We are now in the thick of things preparing for this anniversary project. It's often said that anniversary is the best occasion for us to reflect on the past and to look to the future. Having been part of these operations for 25 years running, I think I have enough confidence to say that Hong Kong has come a long way since its handover 25 years ago, but the best is yet to come.
Well, we really appreciate you speaking with us, Mr. Zhou. It's good to hear those stories from a Hong Kong perspective. We are very much looking forward to your coverage, especially the front page on July 1st. Thank you very, very much again. That's all from Mr. Zhou Hanru. As Hong Kong is rolling out a serious celebration, one of the highlights is the Hong Kong Palace Museum, which Ms. Zhou also mentioned. We've also created a tour guide video to give you a preview of some of the most anticipated exhibitions soon to open to the Hong Kong public. To learn more about this cultural feast in Hong Kong, please watch the following video. After that, we will start our next section about the city's finance and economy. Please stay tuned and we will be back soon.
他们承担的使命，更多的是要面向香港，面向香港老百姓，然后承担跟其他文明的对话。但是我们希望把文物变成文化，要跟其他文化对话，求同存异。很多的展览的设计都考虑到年轻人，我觉得很多的细节都，从某种程度上就是来，符合年轻人的对文物的欣赏的，他的喜好。所以这次的一些展览的形式啊，说实在的话，我觉得是很多创新的，包括就是我们主题的设置啊，我们有2个对话，这次有2个对话的展览，一个就是当代设计与古代工艺的对话，这就是从古代到今天我们一个对话。还有一个马文化，就是我们中国人对马的这种认识，跟人的关系，然后看看西方人，他们跟马在长期的人类社会发展过程中啊，他们之间的关系，他的表达等等，因为也是一种对话。我觉得从一个侧面，未来这样的对话会不断的 更新，从不同的视角，我们也可以跟非洲的啊，也可以跟美洲的啊，也可以跟大洋洲的啊，也可以跟我们周边这些邻国的这些进行一些对话。我们香港的同事们啊，这次在香港故宫文化博物馆的展览的策划中间啊，可以说发挥了不可替代的作用。他们的优势在哪里呢？我觉得第一，国际视野；第二，一些创新的展陈方式；第三呢，他们这种丰富的合作的这种经验，这些确保了我们这些展览的顺利进行。我们故宫的同事也向他们学到了很多东西。香港的这个地位啊，我们要把它固化下来，也是通过文化的连接，把香港的活力给它激发出来，那种创新的活力，我觉得这是香港未来可持续发展的非常重要的。你离开了祖国的这样的一种文化根基啊，那是走不远的。只有不断的交流，不断的这种互补，才会找到一种文化差异之上的一种更多的是相同的地方。
Daily's special program celebrating the 25th anniversary of Hong Kong's return to the motherland. In this segment, we will discuss Hong Kong from a finance expert's perspective. Finance and real estate have been known to be the city's pillar industries, but now new trends are emerging. We've talked with Stephen Phillips, Director General of Investment Promotion at Invest Hong Kong, who has offered a fresh observation on Hong Kong-bound startups. If you want to work or invest in the city, please stay tuned and watch the following video.
We've seen over the last 25 years, many of the big Hong Kong corporates have taken corporate innovation to heart increasingly. Now they partner much more extensively with startups. And that's a sign of a very healthy ecosystem. So lots has changed, and all in a positive direction. Last year, the number of jobs in the startups grew despite the very tough economy. And that just shows the vibrancy of the startup community here in Hong Kong. And also the number of startup companies grew as well. So this is a very healthy signal for Hong Kong. The startup ecosystem is important in any economy. And what we see in Hong Kong is actually a very international startup ecosystem, that they bring in those new ideas, could be new services, new technologies, and they work with the larger companies in the economy, which overall helps the economy modernize. The old saying used to be money makes the world go round, but actually the key differentiator these days for a company's success or otherwise actually is the right talent. So on the talent front, there's two things that we have to do. We've got to grow homegrown talent, and we've got to encourage many, many more young Hong Kong people to pursue a career in innovation and technology and not the more traditional sectors. And at the same time, we've got to attract international talent. Back to what are Hong Kong's strengths? It is access to capital. And we have a deeper capital pool here in Hong Kong, much more liquid than any other centre in Asia. In terms of talent, I think we compete, as we talked about, with other cities around the world, but Hong Kong is in a good place. In terms of markets, the mainland clearly is one of the world's most important markets, second largest economy in the world. So I think Hong Kong is incredibly well positioned, and we shouldn't forget that.
Welcome back. Let's continue with our discussion about Hong Kong's economy. The world has been watching over the city to see whether it will remain as a magnet for capital, companies, and talent. With the Greater Bay Area taking shape, many are wondering how Hong Kong will take advantage of this historic opportunity. To address these topics with expertise, we are glad to have Mr. John Ross, a noted economist from Britain, with us. He's also a senior fellow at the Chongyang Institute for Financial Studies of the Renmin University of China. He's connecting with us from London. Hello, Mr. Ross. It's very nice to have you with us.
Pleased to be here.
Hong Kong is celebrating the Silver Jubilee of its return soon. Over the past 25 years, it has been considered China's window to the world. Despite some ups and downs, the city has maintained prosperity and stability under the one country, two system principle. How would you describe Hong Kong's development over the past 25 years?
Well, I think fundamentally it's done exactly what was it is intended to do with the one country, two systems. That is, it's a key capitalist economy. It functions according to capitalist logic with international companies, capitalist companies from China and from all around the world, but it's part of China, and this gives it huge advantages because China is the world's most rapidly growing economy. But for various reasons, various countries want to be able to operate in an offshore way. That is not exactly within the mainland China, or they want to have connections between both capitalist West and China, and Hong Kong is an ideal base for this. So therefore it's developed during the last years precisely as a result of the success of this type of development. And of course now the Greater Bay Area itself has gone hugely up market. It's become one of the world's two most important technological centers together with Silicon Valley. So that's added extra things to Hong Kong.
In recent years, Hong Kong has been increasingly integrated with the Chinese mainland economically and served as one of the key engines of the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Greater Bay Area. But in the West, some people still doubted that whether Hong Kong is still a free economy. What do you think of that?
Well, I think it's completely foolish. It's also not given by serious international studies as opposed to media, some things. I mean, in the world, there are two major international centers in the West, financial centers in the West, which are London and New York, and they're world leading. And there are only two which are not quite equivalent, but basically of the same level in Asia, and this is Hong Kong and also Singapore. So Hong Kong is entirely developed on that basis of being greatly successful. In fact, one might even say this economy has been a little bit too free because some of the problems that exist in Hong Kong is it's had a very free market economy. So therefore, it's not at all due to the situation that the free market is being closed down in China. What it's gaining from is the huge development which is taking place in the Chinese economy, and particularly in the Greater Bay Area. So it provides a unique base from which to connect both with the Western economies and with China in general, and the Greater Bay Area in particular. So it's functioning exactly as it was intended to do.
Well, I would like to go deeper about the Greater Bay Area. From your perspective, How will Hong Kong benefit from the development of the Bay Area? And what are the opportunities that Hong Kong must grasp in order to maintain its role as a key engine to the region's development?
Well, the Greater Bay Area has now become, together with Silicon Valley, the most important technological center in the world. There's nothing else in the world which compares with these two places. But because it's a huge economic unit, there is a division of labor which exists within it. Hong Kong is no longer a particularly important manufacturing base. The manufacturing is done in mainland China, and the key high-tech companies are located in mainland China. But they need specialist financial facilities and service facilities, and they also need access to international markets, and Hong Kong is ideal for that. In fact, I would say Hong Kong is going to become even more important because while I in general agree with China's with economic policy very much, one or two mistakes have been made. One, I think, was the question of some of China's most important companies listing in New York. No other country in the world allows its most important companies to list outside the mainland. I think this was a mistake. And I think that a number of these companies are going to return to China, and they're going to return via Hong Kong. I already see, for example, for Alibaba, which listed in New York, has now set up a listing also in Hong Kong. And I think that's going to be an increase in trend. So really what Hong Kong is playing the role of is a specialist service, and in particular financial service sector, which is very closely linked to the development not only of China as a whole, but also to the high-tech sector of China. And that's an extremely powerful combination.
Yeah, in the past 2 years, Hong Kong's security problems has been successfully solved, and the new priority is development. Meanwhile, the COVID-19 pandemic has also brought new challenges. What do you think are the critical areas that the new governance team needs to be tackled in order to improve Hong Kong's economy and maintain its competitive edge?
Well, the first, most short-term one, of course, is to keep control of the COVID situation. China has been extremely successful in keeping control of COVID. There's, on mainland China, only slightly over 5,000 deaths compared to over 1
That's all from Mr. Ross. As the key to Hong Kong's future development is integration. Integration with the Chinese mainland, especially within the Greater Bay Area framework, and with the world. Moreover, the city's future will be shaped by its people, especially young people. Next, we will speak with some local youth. Please watch a video and we will be back soon.
望住個鏡頭答問題，你對住個鏡頭。
我睇咩？華語明星啊，我都唔睇電視嘅，點會有識明星呢？
這個可以講嗎？我係咪講得太長啊？
我會快問慢答。好。
我係范徐麗泰，1945年出世，今年未過生日，所以仲係76歲。
我係梁卓偉，1972年出世，我今年49歲。
我叫做黃祖藍，出生喺1980年。
我叫做陳永欣 ，Joey Chan， 我而家係32歲。
我係叫嚴明希，然之後05年出世，即係2005年。
我叫程俊希，係2012年出世嘅，我而家係10歲。薯條同薯片
冇，因為好多嘢都中意。
魚蛋粉、
生菜魚肉同埋豆腐花、
港式奶茶
都係魚皮，佢就一包一包嘅咁，想食嘅時候咪開一包咁脆卜卜嘅，鹹鹹地嘅咁樣。
深水埗，因為嗰度有好多玩具。
冇，都係好中意。
馬鞍山，因為係我由細到大嘅由細成長嘅地方。
可能係海洋公園，通常都係玩啲機動遊戲啦，好期望自己咧可以高過某一個高度啊，因為你要高過某一個高度，你先至可以玩某一啲嘅機動遊戲噶嘛。海洋公園喺我嘅年代淨係得呢一個吊車嘅啫。我每一次如果係真係好做功課做得好辛苦，我都會希望可以去到海洋公園啦。因為我哋當時咧就未有呢個迪士尼嘅，咁所以唯一去到樂園嘅地方咧只有2個，一個就係荔園，一個就係海洋公園啦。
南區，我住喺南區，我揀嚟住喺南區嚇，因為南區咧就喺海邊啊，同埋咧比較靜，要去睇下啲綠水青山咧，好快行5分鐘就已經有得睇㗎啦。
葉明希。
冇，都係好中意。點解我話咁多嘢我都冇一個最中意嘅嘢，或者係特別中意嘅嘢？可能係因為這個世界太美好了。就純自己好中意佢2套嘅電影啦，一套係《風聲》，一套咧就係《明月幾時有》。
張國榮哥哥。
明星我就真係唔係話真係好深入去了解或者研究。如果你話係華語嘅，即係我哋自己中國人咧，冼星海老師咧，其實係我十分喜愛。佢不但只係佢嘅音樂，佢嘅藝術、造詣、生平咧，都係好值得我哋去借鏡啊，去學習啊。
我諗而家啲後生仔係唔識佢噶啦，佢叫陳寶珠，當時叫做影迷公主。咁我嗰陣時就有時間去睇戲，所以覺得佢做得好好，同埋咧佢人係好純真嘅。
我喺媽媽個肚度。應該講我未出世
，7歲。咁嗰時咧，我就開始讀小學。
17歲我讀緊中五。
我因為年尾出世嘅，所以97回歸71嗰陣時咧，我都仲係24歲。
52歲到啦。我當時係做緊臨時立法會嘅主席。
當時跟住爸爸媽媽同埋妹妹一齊去參加一啲慶祝回歸祖國嘅活動啦，就當然好歡欣啦，好開心啦。7月1號，我係需要喺加拿大係幫香港呢一個嘅經貿辦係去帶一班細路仔，我係一個合唱團嘅指揮咧，係去唱呢一個國歌。咁我好記得咧，就係我嗰一朝做完呢一個嘅慶典，馬上係要趕去機場，就跑去呢一個波士頓，係開始我研究院去讀書。咁亦都係我喺公共衛生最啟蒙基本課，一個就係流行病學，另外一個呢就係生物嘅統計學。
我當時係做緊臨時立法會嘅主席。 臨時立法會嘅歷史任務咧，就係要立一啲特區必不可少嘅法律。當我哋特區已經成立咗之後咧，就開第一次嘅臨時立法會，都喺會展開嘅。咁當時我哋過咗一條法律叫做回歸法。其實呢個回歸法裏邊有13條條例嘅。咁呢啲法律咧都係7月1號就要用㗎啦。舉例嚟講啊嚇，譬如話我哋嘅特區護照咁，7月2號人民入境處一開門，啲人就會去申請特區護照。咁所以一定有一個法律嘅基礎。咁所以我哋嘅法律裏邊咧有一個咧就係俾呢個特區人民入境事務處有權可以簽發呢啲護照嘅。有咗呢個7月1號凌晨嘅臨時立法會嘅會議咧，就可以過咗嗰條回歸法。咁然後咧就攞呢個回歸法去俾阿董建華，即係我哋第一屆嘅行政長官咧，由佢嚟簽署。咁簽署咗之後咧，3點半之後咧，呢條法律咧就生效啦。
我有得放假。咁我哋成日都有句説話啦，話有媽嘅孩子像個寶啊！即係終於個感受咧，就係我哋有祖國嘅庇護啦，我哋已經係回歸祖國，我哋有堅實嘅後盾，
就係翻去媽媽度咯。
香港回歸對於我嚟講，其實係一個重新出發。除咗係喺香港一個非常之重要嘅里程碑之外咧，對於國家嚟講，亦都係逐步係令到我哋可以個國土完整啦，我哋個民族自信啦，甚至乎整個嘅文化嗰個復興咧，係其實十分之重要嘅一個里程碑。
香港嘅回歸，跟住2年後澳門嘅回歸，而且係和平咁樣行嘅，就即係咧一洗我哋當年嘅屈辱，呢個一點。第二點咧，我哋嘅回歸咧，其實嗰個基礎咧就係一國兩制。對香港人嚟講係好難得嘅，因為我哋可以維持我哋嘅生活方式不變，又能夠咧維持我哋嘅經濟發展。但係仲緊要一樣嘢咧，就係對全世界嚟講都係一個創舉嚟嘅。呢個創舉咧就係用呢個一國兩制呢一個咁樣嘅方式，和平咁嚟到解決歷史上嘅問題。
阿媽，我第一次100分嗰陣時讚我，好好開心。
就係譚慧珠女士，我係覺得最震撼嘅，就係當佢講到你喺你嘅崗位上面退落嚟嘅時候，你望住塊鏡嗰個係咪仲係你自己？咁所以我覺得呢一個都係一個好重要嘅提醒啦，就係堅持我哋認為啱嘅嘢。
我老婆同我講，我願意，哇，成世就幸福咯。
改變我最深嘅都係25年前我喺哈佛大學研究院讀書嘅時候，我去睇校徽同埋校訓。哈佛大學嘅校訓係 Veritas， 係一個拉丁文。佢其實係如果用中文講呢，就係求是求真。咁亦都如果你睇返我哋有一個雜誌呢，係叫做求是，亦都係喺咁多年來呢幾十年來咧，係俾到我哋國家發展嘅一個動力同埋一個基礎。
我係中國人。
Welcome back to China Daily's live streaming special on celebrating Hong Kong's return. We're broadcasting live on the China Daily website, China Daily app, Facebook, Twitter, Weibo, and other social media platforms. This year marks the 25th anniversary of Hong Kong's return in 1997, which means people born on that year is also about 25 years old. Many have since joined the workforce and are at the beginning of their careers. Tonight, we will talk with 3 young people who are going to share their stories and visions of the future. The first is Li Yueyong Ada, who is a house officer with the Hong Kong Hospital Authority. She's now with us. Let's talk to her. Hello, Ada. Good evening.
Hi.
Would you please introduce yourself first?
Hi everyone, my name is Lee Yun-Yong Ada and I was born in 1997. I was currently a house officer in Hong Kong Hospital Authority and I will become a resident in pediatrics on 1st of July. I was graduated from Faculty of Medicine, the Chinese University of Hong Kong in 2021. Apart from focusing on medical studies, I was awarded as Hong Kong Outstanding Youth Volunteer Award and the 10 most outstanding tertiary students. I was also selected to be members of advisory committee on gifted educations under member self-recommendation scheme for youth.
Well, based on your introduction, I think that you are very active in participating in projects related to young youth development. So what inspired you to do this, and what do you think the youth in Hong Kong should strive for in the future?
Yes, I have devoted myself in lots of social service and youth work since I was in secondary school. I believe that apart from studies, there are many things to learn in the society, and we have the power and talents to make a difference. I focus a lot on youth work, elderly service, and government policy research. I am the advisory committee of gifted educations of HKSAR, and I also participated in different think tanks. I believe that some social situations needs to be softened from the policy. I hope I could reflect our youth voice to the society. Meanwhile, I also established my own social enterprise, Medical Artificial Technology Limited. We aim at invent elderly medical device such as commode and autonomic showering chair to minimize pressure of population aging and medical burden. I really hope that contributes more for our society. Although we are still young and there are still a lot of room for improvement, but I believe that Lion Rock spirit is always here with Hong Kong citizens. There are difficulties and challenges on the road, but no matter what, Hong Kong is always our home, and we all love our home.
Well, it's very inspiring to hear you, young person like you, to mention the Lion Rock spirit. The 1997 generation is playing an important role in Hong Kong's workforce and society. As a medical practitioner, could you share some stories about your work, particularly as Hong Kong was also hit hard by the global impact of the COVID-19 pandemic?
It is really a special feeling to work under COVID. Actually, the reason that I would like to become a healthcare professional is because of my parents. When it was in 2003, where SARS attacked Hong Kong, both my parents worked in hospital and my mom is a nurse. The SARS is so invasive that they can hardly go back to home so as to prevent me from getting infected from the disease. However, they are still stand in the front lines as they believe that they should shoulder for such responsibility. This makes me so touched that I would like to stand in the healthcare front line to fight against any disease like what they did. Therefore, the feeling is actually quite strange. On one hand, I fulfill my dream, just as my first year working in the hospital as a doctor. On the other hand, the whole world needs to face the horrible COVID. The year of houseman is tough but fruitful. We always need to be on call for 36 hours, the long working hours, and the huge amount of serious patients during COVID. However, I believe that our Hong Kong spirit is always here, as we will always stand in the same side, no matter it is towards the virus or the financial difficulties. It also reminds me that to treasure every moment of life. Accidents can happen so quickly, did not give us time for preparations. I see lots of patients' family can even hardly say a goodbye. I really believe that what we need to do is to treasure everyone that happened in our life. We need to stay tough and also stay strong.
As you mentioned, you will become a pediatrician on July 1st. It's just in 2 days. So could you share with us the prospects of your career? And do you expect any difficulties and challenges? How will you get yourself be prepared?
I believe that the road to be a pediatricians and doctors are always full of challenges, not only about the studies, but also for the work. And the whole journey is really, really long. But of course, I need to passing unlimited special examinations. And I also hope to contribute more on medical policy based on my experience in government policy research and the skills of organizing social enterprise and youth organization. In these years, I have to say I actually faced a lot of challenges. Maybe others will think that wow, some people can seem to be so successful in the society. I think the only reason is that we hardly notify the difficulties that they are facing, because everyone wants to show the best side to the public. That's so normal. And every time when I meet difficulties, I always think that is the most challenges I have ever faced, and I maybe fail to overcome it. But believe me, once you pass through it, when you look back, you will suddenly find that you are solitude when compared to the whole world. So when we are facing sad or we are facing difficulties, please try to appreciate more about yourself. Do you know you really did the best? I hope I can pass this feeling to more children as well as the next generation when I become the pediatrics.
Well, that's a very encouraging answer, and I think many young people will be inspired by your words. And back to our topic today. You were born in 1997, and your growth coincides with Hong Kong's development. Would you please share with us some of your memorable moments of the previous anniversaries and what you are looking forward to for the upcoming 25th anniversary?
Yes, the year of 1997 when I was born is really special, and our whole generation has seen a lot of important moments of Hong Kong. We are always be with Hong Kong. All of us grow and develop as with Hong Kong as well. I think the most memorable is that I was the youth ambassador in celebrations of 20th anniversary of the establishment of Hong Kong's special administrative region. I was the representative to serve different international officials during the celebration events and introduce them the characteristic and development of Hong Kong. I also went to San Francisco to send a message of 20th anniversary to oversee youth. Times really flies, and I also going to become a pediatrician from a medical student. I hope no matter it is 10 years or 20 years later, I will still remember what makes me to choose this journey. When I look back, I'm still the teenagers like 10 years before. And of course, so do Hong Kong. I think there is lots of hope in the world, and I'm really looking forward to the future journey. I believe that no matter what difficulties or challenges in the future is, Hong Kong is always our home, and we always have the spirits of Lion Rock.
After the pandemic, if you have a chance to travel on the mainland, where do you want to visit the most? And are there any foods that you want to try the most?
Definitely Guangdong and Beijing. For my social enterprise, I always went to Greater Bay Area to learn the startup development. Meanwhile, I always go to these two places during youth exchange when I was in secondary school. I also meet a lot of friends during exchange, and we still keep in contact. Some of those students in the past already get married, and they have invited me to go to this marriage celebrations. But due to COVID, I can hardly attend it. I did not go to these two places for so long. I really miss the candy strawberry, the food that I always like to eat when I go back to Beijing. I really hope that I can travel to mainland again in the future. And in one days, I can visit mainland and also see my friends and eat from my favorite food.
imagine that you will meet your future self in 10 years' time. So what do you think your future self will tell you 10 years from now?
I think I would say to myself, I need to remain true to my original aspirations. That's it. Whatever difficulties or challenges you will go through, don't forget why you make such decisions years ago. You have really tried at your best throughout the journey, and I'm always proud of you. Past, now, and in the future. We are going to stay all together in the future journey. Happy birthday, Hong Kong.
Well, that sounds great. Thank you very much, Ada, and I hope you will achieve all your dreams. Take care and bye.
Bye.
Through Ada's story, we can see a promising generation in Hong Kong has grown up. They are trying to pursue their own career while striving to make the whole world better in their own way. We will talk to more of them and learn their stories. Stay tuned, we will come back soon.
一杯凍奶茶，同埋一個菠蘿油。
請勿靠近車門，請不要靠近車門。Please stand back from the train doors.
Welcome back. In this segment, we will continue our dialogue with local youth. Over so many years of exchanges between Hong Kong and the mainland, culture, especially movies, have been the conduit. Some of the classics are still beloved and resonate with Chinese anywhere. Inspired by the power of movies, young people have assumed their role as a cultural bridge by telling the city's stories through cameras. Joining us now is a young filmmaker who was also born in 1997 and has been educated both in Hong Kong and the mainland. Let's get to know Jade Chen Sally. Hi Jade, welcome to our program.
Hi.
Would you please introduce yourself first?
Yes, of course. Hi everyone, I'm Chen Lai Jade. I was born in Hong Kong in 1997. At the age of 18, I left Hong Kong to pursue my undergraduate studies in the College of Foreign Languages and Cultures of Sichuan University. And during the life in college, besides studying, days as an intern in the film company helped me find my enthusiasm in the cultural communication and filming. And I'm now a postgraduate student of the School of Journalism and Communication in Tsinghua University. And together with other like-minded students from Chinese mainland and Taiwan, I founded Qingli Cultural and Creative Studio, serving as the planner and producer. At the event of 25th anniversary of Hong Kong's return, I returned to my hometown after 2.5 years. With a group of local friends, I served as the general director for shooting and producing The Bridge, a tribute video offered by Tsinghua University for the anniversary event.
Well, that sounds cool. So you've been traveling across Hong Kong and the mainland and know both places quite well. Why did you choose to come to the mainland for college at that time?
There are several reasons. I still remember the time when I was little. My mom took me to Shenzhen, where we visited the splendid China. Then the miniature landscapes of the Great Wall and the Imperial Palace amazed me, for they seemed to immerse people into a gigantic China map. And every city has its own colorful history and cultural features, so I want to experience and learn them for myself. At the same time, as I growing up, it is perceivable that the economy in mainland, especially in Shenzhen, is boomingly developing, from which I could tell that in the mainland, more potential and more opportunities for young generation are provided. So I wanted to break out of my comfort zone and pursue a college life in mainland for a different career.
Well, that should be a very big decision for you. What made you decide to start making films?
Besides that, I love film itself. The experience of being as the chairperson of Thematic Arts Society in college, where I worked and filmed with many teammates of various majors, further deepened my interest in film. And during my study in mainland, I discovered that the portrait of Hong Kong to many people is rooted in Hong Kong's films and dramas, which made me realize the power of film. And film and television is the carrier, while culture is the essence and creativity is the driving force. So I really hope to express and tell the stories of two sides through filming. Thus, I began to learn the relevant knowledge by self-study and worked as an intern in a film company and hoping to gain more theoretical and practical experience. And yet I'm still a freshman to this field and need to learn a lot from the seniors and peers.
Well, I totally agree with you on the power of films. Then why do you want to make a film to celebrate the 25th anniversary of Hong Kong's return?
To talk about this project, it is jointly supported by Hong Kong students in Tsinghua University and sponsored by Tsinghua Alumni Association. And it is hoped that the story of outstanding young alumni will be recorded through the film and showing the journey of Tsinghua students who are witnessing, participating, and becoming part of Hong Kong's transformation during the past 25 years. And this is like a note of Tsinghua students in Hong Kong for the past 25 years, a report to their alma mater and a letter to home. So the film tells and shows the ups and downs and thoughts of several young alumni in Hong Kong on their own life paths, and they have dedicated their strength to different fields, and closely linking Tsinghua University's motto, self-discipline and social commitment, with Hong Kong's lion rock spirit, and determined to become the bridge between Hong Kong and the Chinese mainland, and also the bridge for Hong Kong to the future. So I hope this film can become a bridge for communication between the two places like this film.
Well, I can't wait to see your film, and I hope everything goes well there. And let's go back to your student life. What are your future plans then?
In the future, I hope I can continue my studies and become excellent and become the bridge for youth exchange between the two places. And it is expected that the government's policy in the construction of Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau, Greater Bay Area will better match the needs of young people, so that the young people can have more guidance and support and find their own suitable streams. As one of the cultural workers, I hope to be one of the pioneers in the construction planning of Cultured Bay Area and explore the role of development in the Greater Bay Area for more Hong Kong youth.
This year marks the 25th anniversary of Hong Kong's return, and you are also 25 years old. Does this have any special meaning for you?
Of course, yes. And as a peer to the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, we have accompanied and grown together for 25 years. And I am 25 years old now, and 25 represent my prime, but I still feel uneasy in my inner heart. I'm no longer an ignorant teenager anymore. I begin to feel the responsibility, and I am still on the way to struggling with my career. So I hope that more young people will join us in the future to spread Chinese culture on the international stage and tell Chinese stories and Hong Kong stories in a proper way. So here I sincerely look forward to the new Hong Kong government team administrating according law, taking responsibility, improving people's livelihood, and jointly opening a new chapter in Hong Kong.
Well, that's a message with a lot of good hopes. Thank you very much for joining us and sharing your love for movies and culture. We're all looking forward to your upcoming movie and all other works in the future. We wish you the very best, Jade. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Born in 1997, Ada and Jade have taken different career paths, but they've learned to stay strong, optimistic, and open-minded. In terms of career choices, Hong Kong youth can also look beyond the city to the Greater Bay Area, which is now offering many preferential policies for youth working there. Our next guest speaker will explain through his own experience how those policies are working. But before that, please watch a video and we will be back soon.
一杯凍奶茶，同埋一個菠蘿油。
請勿靠近車門，請不要靠近車門。Please stand back from the train doors.
Welcome back to China Daily's special coverage of the 25th anniversary of Hong Kong's return to the motherland. We are broadcasting live on the China Daily website, China Daily app, Facebook, Twitter, Weibo, and other social media platforms. With a lot of preferential policies, the Greater Bay Area has been a magnet for aspirational youth. Joining us now is one of them, who is also our last guest speaker for tonight. Please welcome Mr. Zeng Jinqiang, an entrepreneur who has started his business in Shenzhen, Guangdong province. He studied in Hong Kong and Shenzhen and was included in the Huron China Under-30s to Watch in 2020. He's joining us now to share his stories. Good evening, Ms. Zeng. Welcome to our program.
Hello, good evening. Yeah, good evening.
First, would you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Nick. My Chinese name is Jinqiang Zeng. I'm the CEO of Shenzhen People Strong High-Tech Company. I graduated from the Hong Kong Polytechnic University and Shenzhen University. After graduation, I create my enterprise focused on elderly products and elderly service. I insist on the industry around 9 years. I lead 40 people to serve over 90,000 elders in over 100 other institutions. I also use the high-tech device and system to empower them to improve the management efficiency and quality. During these years, I have got a reputation from other authority parties like Huron, Forbes, China Charity, and DBS Foundation.
Well, that sounds great. As one of the local residents in the Greater Bay Area, please use 3 key words to describe the area in your eyes.
Okay, let me think about it. I'd like to pick reliable, open, and hardworking. Reliable means if you plan to work and create your company here, you will feel you are safe. And the society is with rule of law. And you can also find the policy, environment, and the infrastructure are customized for people who work and live here. If you come here, you will enjoy the life. Another word, open, means here are diversity of industry and talents. You can find any person with different background to form a startup team here. You can also make the product come true with the perfect supply chain. Last but not least, hardworking means everyone who come here wants to achieve their goals. So they will try their best to work and hope to achieve the goal. To be honest, the competition is also fierce.
Since you've studied both in Hong Kong and Shenzhen, so what's your take on education integration in the Greater Bay Area based on your own experience?
Okay, in my own opinion, I do support education integration in Greater Bay Area. The core value of education integration is the coordination and orderliness of various regions in Greater Bay Area. It is to integrate the value system of maintaining and ensuring the process and development of various regions to accommodate different cultures. The result, I think, is not 1 + 2 equal to 1, but bigger than 3. It will generate more powerful culture in the Greater Bay Area. We must know integration is totally different from homogenization. In addition, from my perspective, the reason for promoting integration rather than homogenization is not that is that not only the historical and cultural difference among Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau sometimes hinder the development of higher education integration, but also the formation of homogenization is easy to decrease the characteristics and advantages. So in the process of construction and development, the Greater Bay Area is to give full play to the advantages of various regions.
And after further study in Hong Kong, you returned to Shenzhen to start a company. What brought you back to the city?
I think a lot about that. Actually, the most important is like what I said before. Here are so many policies that are customized for the entrepreneur and the startup, like the subsidy for early expense of overseas students and entrepreneurship funding. And my project also got the support from my alma mater, Shenzhen University, and the Hong Kong Polytechnic University, which provides the free office, financial support, law service, and other things. You don't need to care anything. You can just 100% focus on your project and your team. Comparing with Shenzhen, the office and the human resources in Hong Kong are both more expensive, I think. Also, on the Chinese mainland, the market is big enough for us to test to test the product and do the marketing things. I also got my first investment in Shenzhen.
Wow, that's good. You were born in the 1990s and your company has also really young staff. But your vision is to provide services for the elderly. What drives you to be engaged in such kind of industry?
Yes, we do have a team made up by those aged under 30s on average. But we choose to work for the elder because of my grandma. She lived alone in Hong Kong before I studied in the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. She suffered from the chronic disease like high blood pressure, and I found she always asked me whether she has taken the medicine after a meal, even she has taken it before the meal. I didn't pay attention to this situation till she once took the medicine repeatedly and felt dizzy. Because of this accident, I began to design the smart pill box and enter the elderly industry. Actually, the elderly industry has just developed in recent years. Everyone is exploring. And I think if we want to promote the industry development, we should attract more and more young generation to contribute their creativity, energy, and power in the industry.
Well, that's such a touching story. You were listed on the Hurun China Under 30s to watch in 2020. Do you have any advice for your young people who want to start their own companies?
Oh, it's my pleasure. Actually, I'm not that successful. I just share some experience that is valuable, I think. You can choose what you think is useful for yourself. Firstly, one of my strengths is insisting on doing one thing to the end. If I love something, I will take most of my time to learn it, research it, and even reform it. Actually, I'm not stubborn but flexible. I will guide my mind and my behavior adapting to change. Don't always change what you are doing. Every industry has its rules. We should explore it deeply. Secondly, be brave. I think if you consider too much before beginning to do something, you will find everything is problem. No money, no strong team, no high tech. Maybe at last you will come up with so many wishes. So you will be afraid to begin. I'm not such person. I will try it first and adjust it according to different situations. Last but not least, you should make a decision based on how much money you have or you will have in the coming 2 months. Or you will easily to make the team and yourself in trouble. And you can't design and develop the good product in a peaceful mind and hurry up to find money, especially in the situation of a lot of uncertainty.
Well, thank you very much for such valuable advice. Hopefully, more people can take inspiration from you. And my last question. Since the 25th anniversary of Hong Kong's return to the motherland is around the corner, Do you have anything to say about Hong Kong and the Greater Bay Area?
Sure. Best wishes to the 25th anniversary of Hong Kong's return to our motherland. I wish our motherland prosperity and longevity. Thank you.
Thank you for your wishes and for sharing your stories with us. I hope everything goes well with you and your team. Thank you again for joining us, and bye.
Okay, bye. Thank you.
As we've said goodbye to Mr. Zeng, our last guest speaker tonight, we've also come to the end to this program. What came as a surprise to me is that two young people from Hong Kong both mentioned the Lion Rock spirit, representing the resilience, hardworking, and perseverance of the people and the city. With such a spirit passing on from generation to generation, there's good reason to have confidence in the city's future. We believe there will be a lot of good stories to tell about Hong Kong, and China Daily will never miss out. Stay with us for the latest news, in-depth analysis, more live streaming events and videos. Thank you for watching, and good night.